it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Well, today's cards are one of my most favorite card making recipes I can follow. This is easy, it's simple, it's DIY and it's stunning. So absolutely, I hope you give this one a go. But if you watch this video, then you'll feel confident in that you can do this yourself. I feel like this is definitely one of those very achievable, nothing too fancy to it. Now I'm using 3 pink inks here. This happens to be a light, medium and dark. They don't have to be. You can use a light pink and a dark pink. You could use a light purple and a dark purple. You could use some watercolors. You could use watercolor markers. You could use acrylic paint, or you could water down the acrylic paint to get more of the watercolory look. So many options, but here's the thing. This is all I am doing. There is literal scribbles of round circles, nothing neat, nothing perfect. I'm coming back and adding a little bit of color, so to speak, in front of them. I do have a little bit of water there off to the left of this acrylic block, which I'm using as a bit of a palette, just in case I need a little bit of extra water, but there is nothing fancy to these at all. Now we're going to be calling these roses, but that's a pretty loose interpretation, just sort of some flowers or florals, you know. I am working on some Tim Holtz watercolor paper. This is the smooth side of it, and really we're just creating some highlights. Now that was all in real time, so super speedy. You can see at the moment, I wouldn't say they look like a whole lot, but we're going to work on them, and actually I think it works. Let's do the same for the leaves. I'm using some key lime and some grass green inks, really because I don't have too many green inks, but this will do the trick. And I mean, we are going for very loose, easy, rough leaf shapes. Very rusticy, easy peasy. Now, I'm just going to fussy cut these out with my scissors, and so we can adjust things as we go if you need to. If you want to, I feel like you could do this out of some green cardstock, and you could add some highlights yourself, whether that be with coloring pencils, whether it be with inks or paints. Very loose. I mean, I can see if you cut this out of some green cardstock and you just did a little bit of ink blending with some darker green to give it those little highlights, I think that would work too. I'm coming in with the darker color here. Now, these are still wet. They're not going to blend perfectly, but they're going to blend a little bit, and you know, that's good enough for me. This is just a loose, easy sort of florals, nothing too fancy, but we're going to add, as you saw, a few finer details onto the cards to make these into a stunning set of cards. Lots of different options. I want to show you just how easy this is. There's no perfectionism here. There's no perfect way to do things. It's about having fun, trialing, give it a go, have no expectations, and just enjoy the process, really. Adding a little bit more water if you want things to soften out a little bit. Again, you can always come back in if you want, come back in later, or come back in with some, coloring pencils or something to even it out. But this is what we've got at the moment. Very easy, unbelievably quick, and good to go. Now, let's put those aside to dry for a second before we cut them out. I'm going to be using some craft cardstock. This is the Lawn Fawn craft cardstock, and I have a layering piece and a card base. Then I'm going to be using this is the Innocent Pink from Gina K. I have used a die to cut out the smaller one. I'll show you the die set in a second. And then this is some Wild Dandelion yellow cardstock from Gina K as well. And this is the mixed scalloped rectangle die set. Now, this is an absolute favorite. It is such a hard worker in my craft space. So these are the card bases that we're going to be creating. You'll notice that I have a card front for each of them and a card base. Now, this is an old scripty one from the Crafters Workshop. This is a deco art, I think. Again, super old. And then this one here is going to be the wonky chevrons. And this is just, we just want a nice, even, all over pattern. And I'm going to be using some texture paste with these. I'm going to be using the Opaque matte, but also the Opaque Crackle. It doesn't really matter what you've got. Embossing paste, texture paste, all of those things are going to work in just fine here. Use what you have, make it work. We can even make our own if that's what you want to. I'm keeping it white because I have colored card fronts or even craft. And all I'm focusing on doing is sort of a very uneven, and this is quite hard for my a little bit perfectionist brain to do, I just want to desperately cover the whole page here, but I'm really focusing on just doing a little area, and this is going to ground our focal point, which is going to be our roses and our leaves. So I'm really looking to just, ground that and build up a focal point, so to speak. If you didn't have texture paste and modeling paste or anything like that, then even like a little bit of cheesecloth underneath, even a bit of loose twine or thread, made into a bit of a nest. You might have some textured kind of papers or rice paper or something like that you can pop underneath, something with nice wispy edges or something along those lines that you can build a base for your focal point. This one here is just the words, and now I'm coming back to these leaves. Now these are the Altenew watercolor markers, and I do really love these. I usually love the brush tip end, but actually I'm going for the fine tip end in this one. So I'm just choosing one that is going to be a slightly darker red, and this is real time, nothing fancy, a little quick swirl, a little bit of detail. And if you are a different style of artist to me, I'm sure you could add much more beautiful, detailed parts to these images, but I think we get away with this just fine. And this is about my level, and that's okay. I'm happy with this because I'm also happy with the outcome of the cards. It's kind of just the loose watercolory kind of look that we're going for. Then I use the green. I'm just doing, almost wonky lines, like not straight, not really keeping to the edges. I know I can trim these with my scissors, and I know I can add more pen afterwards as well. Now this bit here is definitely sped up because all I do is fussy cut these. Now, as I said, I don't stick to the edges. I do sort of, give them a little manicure as we go around each one of them, sort of tidy up the edges a little bit if I want to. I'm not too stressed if there's a little bit of white showing. You can go ahead and add in more details or just fill in the edges. You can add in some veins if you want to. I think sometimes quite a lot of like handwriting or text stamping over top of these can look really gorgeous if you want to go a little bit outside of the square of what we're doing here. I think that would look stunning. You could put some rub-ons on top of these if you wanted to add some interest as well. Again, very uneven circles, not at all straight or perfect round. If you felt uncomfortable with that, you could use a die or a punch to punch them out. Now time to assemble all of the cards. I do hope in this video that this just makes you feel like you have so many options and there's always another way. You can make things work no matter what you have, and as long as you've got a little bit of, a few things to work with. If you are a beginner card maker, then you might like to build up to some of these things, but if you've been card making for any amount of time, a decent amount, then you'll likely have something that we can make work here. So this is the outcome of the 3 panels. You can see those beautiful crackles. I actually have some up close photos at the end of this video if you would like to see the crackles and the sort of up close shots a little bit better. This one here, I've also added a craft matting layer there just because we're really pink on pink here, and then we're adding pink roses, which is quite a lot. Super easy, super plain, just a plain cut rectangle, and then that's just helping us separate from the background. I have a little bit of gold thread. Now I'm going to follow the same recipe for each one of these, so it's going to be very similar, and I am speeding this up at this point obviously just to get through the video, but just know that we add some gold thread. I just pop a little bit of double-sided tape onto each side so that it grabs the thread as I wind it around, and then I add some liquid glue. If you want to, you could go around and add a bit of ink and do the edges and sort of, do that. I don't really bother. I did this one just to show you because this is just going to be a single rose on this one, but you don't have to do that at all. And then I've got a little banner here. This one comes from the Paper Rose. It's a banner set, very, very handy. Definitely recommend to have in your stash because these are a go-to. And then I'm going to use, this is an oldie but a goodie. This is an Altenew stamp set, and I love the saying that life is better with friends. I find that these can be for birthday cards, for a friend going through a hard time, a friend needing a hug, a friend just who's had a baby, or you want to give them a nice little cheer me up sort of present, or a little, I'm thinking of you. I find like this sentiment is just an absolute go-to for that sort of any occasion for a friend, really. So I really like that one. I'm going to cut this out, pop this up on a little bit of foam tape, because just remember everything else is flat in the background, and this gives a little bit of dimension. But how beautiful is that? So as I said, we're going to follow the same recipe, give or take, with a couple of differences, just to give you some options. I add a little bit of sparkle, because I always like a little bit of sparkle in the card, so that it catches your eye when there's a bit of movement. You can see that there's a little bit of like smeared white of paste there that I've just, given it a bit of a smudge. But, we'll cover that up. You just have to bear it in mind. Don't worry about it. Don't be too fussy. We can cover things up if we need to. This one, I'm giving it a plain white matting layer, just because we have white texture paste. And I feel like we've already got enough colours. We don't need to introduce a new one at this point. This one here is going to have 3 roses on it, and they're not all the same size. They are not, all perfect by any means. I just grab any 3 that we've got here and we'll pop them together. So yeah, definitely 2 bigger ones and 1 little, but again, we're not worrying. We're covering up that little smudge that we've got over there, and I'm going to pop some leaves in there too. I'm going to pop in from the Altenew Plants and Vases stamp set. Now, this one I think might not be available. It was a very popular stamp and die set, really cute, but the perfect little happy birthday just to pop in this one. If I was going to include all of these in a little set and pop them in a wee box, then I like to have a range of sentiments rather than the exact same one for each one. But if that doesn't matter, then you could make these for any occasion. And I think that these even, you can change up the color of the flowers, and make it a baby card. You could change it up and make them blue. It doesn't have to be. There's no rhyme or reason as to what color the flowers need to be. I was just in a definite pinky sort of mood today, which was fun. I've got a couple of leaves that I'm going to pop in the side. You can pop some of the roses up on some foam tape. You could use some 1mm foam tape, and that way you can add, like 1 rose completely flat and then one with 1 layer of foam tape, so 1mm, and then double it up for the last one. So it is going to be some nice staged heights. Then I'm going to add in a few little enamel dots. These are really gorgeous, a little bit of glitter, and a little bit sparkly, because after all, this is a birthday card. So just adding in those little drops around the place. You could also add in some splatter, or if you like control, then you could do some controlled splatter. But that's number 2, easy peasy. Number 3 is this gorgeous yellow one. Now this is my largest panel for sure, and this is, lends itself to a different kind of sentiment, and for this one I'm going to use a die cut. So this is the Lovely by Simon Says stamp, one that I really am leaning in towards recently. I'm really enjoying this one, and I'm going to die cut it out and then stamp on it. Now the die comes with the shadow and the inner word, but this is the shadow here, and I must admit the shadow is it's not a big, bulky sort of shadow. It really does follow the letters closely, and you can truly tell what it says. So I have used this on its own as well, but the stamp set that goes with it has so many beautiful words that you can create an absolute amazing array of sentiments, and that is one of the reasons why this has become a recent favorite. As I said, the Lovely, I have stamped on it with some wild dandelion ink, which is exactly the same as the cardstock. Now, I don't have too many coordinating cardstocks and ink, but when I do, I'll take advantage of it. I may as well lean into it if I've got them. And then for this one, I've just got a little Hello Lovely. So pop the same recipe, 3 little florals, a couple of little leaves, and that just breaks up some of the colour. And then we're going to add in the Lovely. I am going to pop this up on some foam tape. So this is the 2mm foam tape, and I will just cut some little strips and bits and pieces. I really love the scrapbook.com foam tape because it cuts so beautifully. It doesn't stick to my scissors. I use the cutter bees, and I use the Tim Holtz scissors, the Recoil ones for the long ones, and it doesn't stick to either of them. It cuts very cleanly, and that's something I love about their foam tape, and that the backing removes really easily. I don't have to fight with it. It just pops off really nice. So a couple of things. Who knew that we would enjoy so much about foam tape? But anyhow, this one here is, I was going to pop it on this yellow card base. So you can let me know. At this point, I truly was like, the plan was yellow. I was going to do yellow. but it's very yellow on yellow. And actually, I think at this point, which one should I be choosing? Speak now. But it is going to be the white one. I just felt like there was just a lot of yellow, and I think this helps the sentiment pop, the little hello pop out. Yeah, I think there was just a nice little contrast between the white and the background as well. So I will pop this one on here, and then this is going to be 3 beautiful, easy cards. Aside from the sentiments, very DIY, very, create it ourselves. And I think these look really gorgeous. I would be very proud and excited to receive one of these. And so I think that other people hopefully will feel the same way. And in thinking about that, I like to use these little sticky notes. I know that some people put some post-it notes in the center. These are some that I found from Pink and Maine. And the idea is, as it mentions in the sticky note, is that you pop a couple on the inside of your card, and this means that the card can be reused several times over. It's always nice to think that your card is going to make more than one person smile or feel that love, and so doing this, someone can write on the top one, and I will give it to somebody, and then they can just rip off one of the layers. I tend to put 2 or 3 post-its inside of a card. I feel like that doesn't add any bulk, and it means that the card can be used 3 if not 4 times. So it's nice to think that it just makes it go that little bit further. Anyhow, these are the 3 cards for today. Let me know if you've got a favourite. They definitely follow a recipe. But other than that, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it, and I'll see you next time. Bye.